So I was just sitting around minding my own business and strolling through YouTube and trying to get caught up on some videos and some people that I follow, and came across a video from a good guy. His channel's called Young LP Lovers, and the video was a summer vinyl tag. Another tag? Sign me up. So I looked through, his video, and apparently there's a guy named Dylan over at Noble Records who actually started this tag, and I guess it's him I can credit for this summer tag of 2024, which is basically just a tag to kind of get us through the summer and let us express ourselves with our vinyl. So that's what I'm going to do right now. You got a vinyl tag? I'm game every time. So big shout out to Young LP Lovers, because he's the one who actually put me on to this new tag, and Dylan over at Noble Records. I think he's in North Carolina. So normally these tags are towards the beginning of the year, I guess. This year is the first year I've done tags, and I've probably done 4 or 5 by now. But this one is done later. It's we're still in August, and I know I did one maybe about a month or 2 ago, and it was a rap tag. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, towards the beginning of the year. So here we are. I think the tags are fun. Also, I tried to pull some things that I thought would be interesting, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go. So there was 20 questions that Dylan created, and we're just gonna go down the line and see what happens, okay? So the first question is, show an album or a song with summer in the name, because this is a summer vinyl tag. Well, summer in the name, of course, the first record that came to mind was Summertime, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. But Young LP Lovers, excuse me, he showed this one already. Thanks a lot, buddy. So I decided I'm going to show one even better than that. I'm going to show the actual record that this was actually sampled from, and the very best song with summer in the title ever, and that would be Kool and the Gang, the Love and Understanding. I want to make sure I got that right. The Love and Understanding album, which has Summer Madness on it. Now, this was one of their great albums. Most people know this song. If you don't know it, get to know it. This is an incredible funky jazz album. We're not going to spend too much time on it because it's a great record and most people know about it. But yes, Summer Madness, Kool and the Gang, the greatest ever song with summer in the title. Question number 2. What was your latest heavy pull? Heavy pull meaning something that you wanted really bad, that maybe you spent a whole lot more than you anticipated, or something like that, I guess. So I really don't have a lot of heavy pulls, because I did a lot of that stuff and bought a lot of expensive records that I was looking for years ago. But I'll show you, maybe the latest one that would probably fit in that category nowadays. And that would be MF Doom, Unexpected Guest. Now, before Doom's passing, this was one of those records that I would see in the record store, and I always wanted it because it had a lot of features. Somehow I got in my head that there was a song on here with Doom and Kool Keith. And actually, there's no song on here featuring the two. but for some reason that kind of got stuck in my head. I think I have a different album in mind. Maybe it was a Kool Keith album or something I was looking at. Anyway, I'd always wanted to get this, but I drug my feet for the longest time. And then unfortunately Doom passed. And let me tell you, when Doom passed away, there was not one Doom item that you could buy anywhere. Like anywhere. Every last single record store in the city, I'm in Phoenix, in the city, had all sold out. And there were at least 3 that always had Doom stock. Always had Doom vinyl. They were gone. I'm talking within a day and a half of this unfortunate news getting out. And then you go online, there was nothing. All of the websites that sold Doom t-shirts or Doom media was gone. Everything. So a little time goes by, and all of a sudden, all of his albums, like everything, had been reissued. Like everything. So his original copies shot up in price. But, I mean, they were ridiculous. I had records that were worth... I had a record that was worth... actually, it's this one. This Victor Vaughn, that's limited number. This is on gold vinyl. Before his passing... That record was probably $100 record, and then it shot up to like $600. Now it's come down a whole lot since then, but when I say his original vinyl just shot up, his albums, it was crazy. So anyway, when all of his records were reissued, I thought, okay, you better grab this while you can. You don't know what's gonna happen. So I grabbed this. It was more than I wanted to pay, but it, you know, it wasn't crazy. I think I paid maybe $35 for it. And I know that that's not all the money in the world. You know, I've spent a lot more, $100, $200, $300. But I would say that was the last one. I just don't spend a crap load of, you know, big money on records anymore. Not too much these days, because I got so much of what I've wanted, you know, over the years. So this is the best I could come up with my latest heavy pull. Number 3, a Whack-A-Mole record. Now, a Whack-A-Mole record, I guess, is you just blindly grab a record out of your collection and you talk about it, if you can. So I'm just gonna blindly grab something and hope that it's something interesting. Let's see what I can get here. Okay. What is this? Oh, this is George Clinton. Let me take this sleeve off. This is George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic, the Mothership Connection, live from Houston. Look at that cover, boy. Yeah, so this is, I love live albums. I absolutely love them. That's a whole nother subject. We'd be here for the next hour if we start talking about that. But this record, I can tell you, I've had it forever. Like, I don't have every last single George Clinton album, but I have most of them that are out, and I got most of them. I think of all of the records that I have of George Clinton, I think it was back in the 90s when, you know, he just wasn't putting out a whole lot of stuff. And I had like 90% of his discography back then. So I don't remember exactly where I got this from, but, you know, it was one of those things where you see George Clinton, you just buy it. You know, I don't look twice. If it's Brides of Frankenstein, if it's something Bootsy did, if it's you know, Parlettes, Funkadelic, whatever, you just grab it. And so that's where this kind of falls in. Let's see, on here they did Let's Take It to the Stage, Do That Stuff, Mothership Connection, Dr. Funkenstein, Get Off Your Behind and Jam, Night of the Thumpasaurus People, Atomic Dog, Double O, and Bulletproof. So yeah, this was my random Whack-A-Mole record that I pulled out. This was a good one. Okay, number 4. Show an album cover with an animal on it. Now, when I read that question, I thought the Funkadelic's Greatest Hits, and it's got the black sheep on the cover. You remember that album cover? But for some reason, I can't find my copy of that, and I know I have that record, but I can't find it. So I was like, And then there's a number of other George Clinton related records with animals on the cover, but I kind of wanted to show the one with the black sheep. And then I was thinking, black sheep. Oh, black sheep. So let's pull out the actual black sheep. There we have it. Dres and Mr. Long, the Incredible Black Sheep Crew, and we have all of these little sheep on there. And then their second album, they actually went the same route, but they actually have actual black sheep on the second album. How cool is that? Cool? We good? Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep it moving. An album with a great story. What did I pull out? Okay, I think this is a cool story. This is the Lifesavers. And this album is entitled Gutterfly. Now, I want you to take a really good look at this album. Look at how they're dressed. Like old 70s. Look at the crazy, funky 70s type of disco design going on in there. And then it says the original soundtrack. The original soundtrack. Now, take a look at this. Check out the old pictures or whatnot. Just get a feel for what that is, right? So, there was, I can't think of the guy's name, but there was a director, a producer, some guy back in the 70s who actually made a blaxploitation movie called Gutterfly. And the movie's soundtrack, I don't think the movie was ever released, but it was completed. And the movie soundtrack was never released. And this is the actual soundtrack to this old school movie. Now, if you're into blaxploitation movies, then obviously you're going to love something like this. Okay, so before I go any further, let me just say that everything that I just said wasn't exactly accurate. See, I read in an article, and I don't know how much of this is true or not, but apparently this was just more of a concept record, an idea. So that movie never actually existed, and the soundtrack for it never actually existed. But these guys, the Lifesavers, decided that they were gonna, take this idea, this concept, and say, hey, let's do this whole blaxploitation thing, and we'll make it seem like it was something that happened a long time ago, and now you're finally getting some music to that. And this is rap music too, so that makes it even cooler. So this is the article I read. I thought it was cool, that whole concept of making the public think that there was an album, like a blaxploitation soundtrack that came out a long time ago that was finally being released after all of these years, and just kind of going with that. And then later on down the line, we find out, oh, it was just it's just an idea. It's just a gimmick or whatever. It's a dope album too. It's a dope album. So I hope I got that. I hope I got that right. It's been a while. I don't know when this came out. I want to say early 2000s or mid 2000s, somewhere in there. I apologize. I don't see a year on there. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. The whole blaxploitation thing. with the Gutterfly. Okay, let's see. An album we should be surprised to see in your collection. There's a ton of albums that I think all of you will be surprised to see in my collection. So I literally grabbed the first one I came across. It was sitting over there, and it's this record. Yeah. Oh, whatever, okay? Whatever. The point is this. This Liberace record, for the heavy diggers, the heavy diggers, they know exactly what this is. But for you guys that aren't in the loop, this was a record that has been sampled a number of times. I'm going to play the sample for you. And it's a sample that's been used in rap records a number of times over the years. So let me play this for you, and then you'll kind of see where I'm coming from.
I'd like to return to the classics. Perhaps.
There we go.
Now. And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the classics.
Does that sound familiar? To some of you, it will. To some of you, maybe not. But, yeah. Who would ever think that Daryl D would have a Liberace record in his collection? And I'm sure that I paid $1 for this at some Goodwill or something. But whatever. Yeah, so there you have it. Okay, next up, Cheap Heat. Cheap Heat. I want to shout out the good people from my hometown of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There's a vinyl shop there called Musical Memories. If you are a heavy vinyl head and you're ever in Milwaukee, you want to go check out Musical Memories. They've been there forever. I kid you not, when it comes to rare records, I have never called that place and they not actually had it. Everything in that store is mint. Everything in there. They don't carry any crappy records. Anything less than near mint, you're not gonna find in there. And their prices can be pretty crazy, but a lot of their stuff is priced fantastic. Their 45s, their 45 section is incredible. You gotta dig in there, but man, will you find some great stuff. So, as far as Cheap Heat, I love the Cranberries, and I found this 45 of Zombie in there some years back. And if I remember correctly, I think I paid maybe $4 for this. $4 for a Cranberry 45. And this is like a jukebox copy too. So I don't know what, you know, this record is actually worth. But, you know, with the lead singer passing or whatever, I would guess that in this day and age, it might be pretty pricey. I'm not sure, but I got a great price on it. I paid either $4 or maybe $6. I don't recall, but I would definitely describe this as Cheap Heat. Cranberry Zombie. Beautiful song too. Okay, so a 45. Show a 45. I was going through some 45s actually, and I came across this cool one. This is Adele, Hometown Glory. Now, let me just talk about this 45 for a second. I was reading like a local paper. This was before Adele ever, you know, released an album. And they were talking about soul singers, these new soul singers. And there was three people that they were talking about in this article. One I can't remember for the life of me, and then Estelle. I think Estelle is from England or UK or somewhere over there. And then they were talking about Adele. Now, for some reason, I don't know What it was, I don't recall because this was so many years ago. But something just told me to kind of check this chick out. So I think I went online. This was the only single she had out at the time. I didn't know anything about her. So I ordered the single, and I got it in the mail, listened to it, and I absolutely love this song. The B-side is Best for Last. So I ended up finding another 45. I don't even know. Did I pull that one up? I ended up finding this other 45 of Make You Feel My Love. And I love this song as well. So then I hear that, I think I heard some chatter or something that she had won an award or something. Maybe it was Best New Artist. I don't know. But she was on this small tour where she was going, she was touring here in the United States. And I believe she had just won an award. And she was in LA like a night or two before she stopped here in Phoenix. Now, eventually I found a used copy of her first album, which was right after it dropped. So I listened to it. I loved it. Come to find out, she's going to be in town. And she was at a venue that at the time held about, I don't know, 200 people, 300 people, something like that. It was, I don't remember. I don't even remember the name of the venue. So this was like maybe 3 weeks before she was going to be here. I don't know. I didn't know at the time anybody who had ever heard of her, anybody who had ever listened to her or anything. Nothing. So when it got close to the concert day, I want to say the day before, I actually called that venue because I wanted to make sure that the concert was still happening. Small venue, you know, small concert. And I called the venue. They say, hey, no, it got moved over to the Marquee in Tempe. So the Marquee holds like, what, 1,500 people or something like that? I'm not exactly sure. You'd have to look it up. But it holds a whole lot more than the, you know, than the 200 or 300 at the other place. So I get down to the show. I have a young lady with me, and we get down to the show, to the Marquee, and lo and behold, it is sold out. I'm like, sold out? What is this? Is crazy. Because I don't know anybody. I never heard her on the radio or anything. So we ended up buying some tickets from some scalpers. We get in the show. We get into the Marquee. I mean, it is packed from front to back. It's completely packed. I remember when she came out on stage, you could see in her face, she was just like shocked. She was surprised. Because all of this time while she's in the U.S., she was probably doing these very small venues that were 200-300 people. And then she comes out to this bigger room, and it's completely packed. And she kind of just was like, oh, you know, it was like she freaked out a little bit, you know what I mean? But you could tell that she was shocked and that she was very flattered about the turnout in there. She did a wonderful job. It was this the only time I've ever seen her, and you know, of course, I like this Adele because look at her, she's still thick. You know what I'm saying? Very attractive, no makeup. Now she's like, you know, she got kind of skinny and looks like she stuck her face in a bucket of paint. She doesn't look nearly as attractive now as she did back then. So anyway, let me stop being long-winded. That's the 45 I want to show you guys is Adele. Hometown Glory. The next question is favorite music documentary or biopic. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna go with The Show. Russell Simmons Presents The Show. That was a fantastic documentary about, you know, rap music. It had everyone from Craig Mack to Wu-Tang to Slick Rick to Biggie Smalls to Run DMC. Fantastic, fantastic doc. Fantastic album. And just for extra credit, I pulled out my original copy of the VHS tape that I bought as soon as it dropped back in the day. I saw this at the theater. I'm not sure. Then I bought the album, of course. And then when it dropped to VHS, of course I picked that up too. So yeah, that's my pick for soundtrack, is Russell Simmons' The Show. Next up, a box set. I don't have a lot of box sets. I probably maybe have a handful at the most. I don't buy a lot of box sets because usually a box set consists of a bunch of albums that had already been released at one time. And most of the artists that I like, I have all of their albums anyway. Bought most of them when they came out. Especially if it was anything from the mid-'80s all the way until now, I bought all their stuff. But this is a cool story. So I think I was reading, it was probably Herb magazine, and I never do this, but I was reading some of the reviews in there, and they were talking about this. It was a CD, and they were talking about it was called Soul Food, and it was on a label called Cooking Records. And I was reading, I don't recall exactly what I read, because this was back in 1999, yeah. So anyway, I went to see my good buddy Sash over at Just Dance Records, and I told him about this release that I read about. And I never buy CDs. Like I never buy CDs. I definitely never pay retail for them. But it sounded intriguing. Sounded like it sounded really, really good. And so I asked Sasha if he could order that for me. Well, a week or two later, he calls me up. He says, "Hey, I got that for you." I go down there. He pulls it out, and it's not a CD. It's an actual 10-inch vinyl box set. That was a pleasant surprise. I did not expect it to be vinyl. For whatever reason, I just thought it was the CD in the article. I don't recall if it said CD or CD only or whatever, but I definitely didn't think it was vinyl. So this is like more like a compilation of down-tempo, acid jazz type of tracks on here, and it's got all of these artists and these songs on it, and plus the artwork is just incredible. Look at that. So this is kind of sentimental for me because it's my first 10-inch box set. I think I have one other box set 10-inch. Anyway, but this one is really, really cool. I pull this out from time to time to listen to it, and it's I definitely, if you love down-tempo music, future jazz, acid jazzy type music, then you'll love this. But yeah, that's my box set. I hope you guys are digging that artwork because that's pretty cool. Okay, most trash record in your collection. Interesting story. I bought this album when I was in high school. 2 Live Crew, 2 Live is what we are. And I mentioned this on another video. But if you're familiar with this record, then you know that half of the songs are pretty raunchy and the other half are like just regular rap songs. I never liked profanity all over records. I never liked them. And back in the 80s when I bought this, I really didn't like them. Didn't like profanity. So what I did with this record is I took the songs that I did not like, the real raunchy ones, and can you see that? I took a nail and I literally just so that you could not actually play the record. And then, then there's one on there. So if I was to show you my most trashed record, this would have to be it. And I'm the one that trashed it. How do you like that? So, and it, to this day, this remains my only copy of this record. So, that's kind of crazy, right? Okay. Next up, show a local album. Well, since I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I'm going to show you a Milwaukee record, or at least what I'm going to consider to be a local record. And that is Citizen King, Mobile Estates. This was like a, I don't know, kind of I don't even know what you would call this. Could you call this like rock rap back then? Or I'm not exactly sure. But I was digging these guys a lot. One of the guys who used to be in this band, I went to high school with. And then this guy right here in the middle, DJ Malcolm Wong. That was a good DJ buddy of mine from back in the day. Milwaukee royalty as far as I'm concerned. And I have some video footage somewhere around here of their first performance in Milwaukee right after this album was released. And I believe this was Warner Brothers. Yeah, this was on Warner Brothers Records. So how cool is that you know some people from your hometown who put out a record on a major label. And all of this stuff, not the blender, but all of these buildings and whatnot, these are actual Milwaukee buildings right here. Got the famous Sydney High over here. So yeah, Citizen King, Mobile Estates, I think I have a 12-inch or two off of this as well. Big ups to my homeboy, Malcolm Wong. Okay, next question is an album from a faraway land. Okay, you'll love this one. So, wow, I can't think of the blog. Man, there's a blog that I occasionally check out, and there's this guy. Man, please forgive me. I should have looked that up. There's a guy who, few times a week, he, let me see if I can find it real quick. Few times a week, he posts a record from his collection, and, oh, there it is. He posts a record from his collection, and he puts a little sound bite. And most of the records, all of the records are like super, super duper rare. And the name of the blog is called Funk for the People. And he usually, he lists like really, really funky, super funky songs on there. And he shows the record, and he puts a clip of the song on there. And this guy's got like one of the illest collections you have ever seen or heard in your life. I mean, I would try to look up some of these records to see if I could get my hands on them, and they would be like $300, $400, $500, or you just couldn't find any info on them at all. Like, they're not on the internet anywhere. They were like that rare. So he listed this one record. I'm not even going to attempt to try and pronounce this, but and even he said when he put this on his list, he's like, I don't usually put records like this on there. He was like, but, and then he starts mentioning, you know, who sampled this record and blah blah blah. But actually, this is the record that DJ Quick, a lot of people think it's Dr. Dre, but DJ Quick sampled for Truth Hurts featuring Rakim. Contagious or whatever the song is called. And I'm just going to play a little bit of this so you guys, some of you guys know exactly where I'm coming from. Is this the third song on here? Okay, hold on, let's see. Okay, so this record normally goes for, I think the cheapest I've ever seen this sell for, $75, which I wasn't willing to spend, but I've seen it anywhere from $75 up to $200. Now this was some years back. I don't know what it goes for right now. So I got really lucky and I saw one for sale somewhere. It was somewhere online, definitely, and it was only 25 bucks. So I found this record for 25 bucks. I haven't seen it for that cheap since. Does that sound familiar from the Truth Hurts record? Alright, so hopefully I'll get away with that. But anyway, so when I got this record in the mail, yeah, it had come all the way from India. All the way from India. So I think I kind of looked out with this one too. This actually could have been, you know, the cheap heat under that question as well. But I just saved it for something from a faraway land. I don't have a ton of records from, you know, different parts of the world, and most of the ones that I do are just people who released it here in the United States, but they're from somewhere else. Let's keep moving. A soundtrack. Okay, here's a cool one. This is Wild Style. I pulled this out because I had it handy. Now, of course, I bought this a long time ago. In fact, my first copy of this that I ever bought, I bought it from Musical Memories that I just mentioned earlier. So, this one I just recently picked up here in town and at a record store, and I think I was told that there was like maybe a skip in it somewhere. And so it was Grand Avenue Records, Coco. I think he wanted like $3.99 for it, which I couldn't believe because, you know, it seems like in the last 4 or 5 years, this record is like kind of shot up in price. You used to be able to find it for 10, 15 bucks, but now they seem to, when I come across them, they seem to start at 50 bucks and go up to like 150. And I wanted another copy just so I could get some autographs on it because I wanted to gift it to someone, and I was just in New York recently. So I got a few autographs on there from those that were in the movie. I think there's Rodney C, Busy Bees on there. DJ Tony Tone and Grandmaster Caz are on there. So, yeah. Wild Style, that's a staple in anyone's hip-hop collection. Let's keep it moving. My highest recommendation, well, that's kind of a hard record to show, so I kind of singled it down to if there was anyone who asked me, what album should I buy? I'm trying to get into R&B music from the 80s. What would you recommend? Well, I think the perfect album from the 80s is New Edition N.E. Heartbreak. There's not a song that you would skip on this whole album. A lot of, you know, some really good singles that came off of this album. but the album from front to back is just gold. And this is after Bobby left and Johnny Gill came on board. And the story is that he was like co-lead singer with Ralph, but Ralph still had most of the parts. But he does a song on here called Boys to Men, and it is incredible. Go listen to it. I know a lot of you guys that are watching this are Daryl, we know, okay? We know about New Edition. Don't tell us about it. Okay. All right, this is for the people that don't know about New Edition. Go check them out. I highly recommend N.E. Heartbreak. It is a banger from beginning to end. Next up, the highest on your want list. I don't have a highest on my want list. I haven't for many years. But what I will do is I will show you the last record that was on my want list that I was determined to get. And I think I bought this record, well, it had to have been a good 10 years ago. I was on the internet scrolling around and I came across this song. And the name of the song was, let me make sure I get this right, Love Me For Me. Love Me For Me by Rem and Casa. This is, I would describe this as African disco, is how I would describe it. There's another record that's more that's better known than the Too Tough this Too Tough album, but this one was the first, and I have that other one, but this one was the one I heard about. I had this song on there. I was like, oh, I love this song. I gotta have this record. If I went online at the time, this record was selling for anywhere between $200 and $300. Whenever it would pop up for $200 to $300. Well, I wasn't gonna pay that, and I'm thinking, how hard is this gonna be to find, because it's an African record, and you just don't see a whole lot of African records here in the United States. So anyway, there's this humongous record show, the biggest, baddest record show I've ever been to, that would be in LA, called the Beat Swap Meet. Mad love to the homeboy Utmost. He's the one that put that show together. It was just bananas. That's a whole nother story. But go research the Beat Swap Meet. And the next time it happens, I strongly encourage you to attend. But anyway, so there was this Beat Swap Meet I was going to, driving in 6 hours from Phoenix to LA, and I am on a mission to find this record. It's the, if I only leave with one record, and I usually leave with a crate and a half every time I would go there, but if I only leave with one record, I want it to be this record. So I get there early, of course, and we're digging around, and there's this one vendor, this younger guy, and I've never seen him there before. And let me tell you, people are on his stash. So I'm in this one section, and I'm digging, and there's this guy digging next to me. And you know how you're digging, and you kind of double digging. You're looking at them flip through records, and you're flipping through. You're going back and forth. I was doing one of those numbers. And all of a sudden, this guy's, he's digging through the records, and then boom, I see this over there, and I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So then he pulls the record out, looks at it, and then puts it under his arm like this. And he's got like a handful of records already under his arm. And I'm just like, oh, gosh. I'm like dying over here, right? So he asked the guy, hey, how much is this? And the guy tells him, he looks at it, and it's like a VG Plus, somewhere right in between VG Plus, somewhere in there. And he says $85. The dealer says $85. And I'm just like, oh man, I would pay 85 for that. 200 to 300, yeah, I'll pay 85 for that record. And it's only got like 3 songs in it. It was later on, it was some years later, it was reissued, and I think it had 1 or 2 other songs on it. So anyway, that was that. And so when he finished digging through the stuff and he's like looking at all the records, and I asked him, I said, hey, could I just take a look at that record? Turns out it wasn't released in Africa. This is an African guy, but this was released in San Francisco on some records. I hope you can see that. Anyway, I asked him if I could take a look at it. He's like, yeah. He hands it to me, and I'm just kind of looking at it like, oh, man, I missed out. And then he says, I'm not going to get it. I was like, you're not going to get it? He's like, nah, I'm not going to get it. I was like, okay, cool. I'll take it. And I was just like, yes. So I asked the dealer, I was like, what's the lowest you're willing to go on this? And he pulls it out. He looks at the vinyl again. He's like, I'll do 80. Okay, I'll do 80. I'm like, sold. He's like, I got a few more of those anyway, and they're like mint condition. So I was just like, sold. And so that was my whole mission, to go to Beat Swap Meet in LA, in Chinatown, and find this Rem Casa record. I hope I'm saying that right. And I found it. So this was, and it didn't cost me nearly as much as it was going for. So if there was a highest on my want list, this was the last one that I would say I bought, that it was up there on that status. Okay, so next up, a channel shout out. A channel shout out. You know what? I don't watch a whole lot of vinyl channels. There's a small handful that I look at. But if there was one that I was going to shout out, and let me just back up. The reason why I don't watch a lot of them is because I like to see videos about records that I like, stuff that I'm interested in, opposed to just most channels, they like some of everything, you know what I mean? So they might pull out a Isley Brothers record, and then after that pull out a U2 record. I don't care about no U2. So there's one. I gotta give a big shout out to June's Music Corner. Shout out to June, real talk. I'm just, one of his videos popped up in my related videos, and it was a vinyl tag video. It was the first vinyl tag video that I had ever seen. And I think he was holding up like an Outkast record or a Parliament record or something. Outkast and Parliament. Okay, you speaking my language. I gotta check this dude out, right? So I've been checking out his channel ever since. June's Music Corner. You got to check him out. And it's because of him that I even know about any of these tags. Otherwise, to this day, I wouldn't have heard of any of this stuff. Because none of it has ever come across, come in my direction. Or I've never been exposed to any of that. So big ups to you, June. Okay. A Silver Lining in Vinyl. Oh no, that's kind of a hard one. I would say that if there was a silver lining, it would be that I love, if you're familiar with my channel at all, then you know I love bootleg records. And I love the fact that there are so many bootleg labels out there. There's a lot of them out there, and they're putting out stuff that was either never released. Most of them are 45 labels too. So they're putting out stuff that was either never released, stuff that was never released on 45, or re-edits or remixes that different artists have created that are super duper funky. So I would say just the fact that there being so many options for bootleg records, and you get to buy these different records and play them at parties, and nobody's ever heard of them before. And it's nothing like rocking a party and people hearing something familiar but then not so familiar at the same time, but absolutely loving it. So yeah, I would say that would be my silver lining in the vinyl world today. Question 19. Show a record that was a steal of a deal. I'm going to go with Weldon Irvine Cosmic Vortex. So, I'm in this record store. They're not around anymore. I'm not going to call them out. Owner was kind of a jerk. But anyway, so I'm in there one evening and I'm going through some records, and I pulled out like I pulled a few dollar records out I found, and then I come across all these boxes and crates of records that I'm assuming they had just gotten in and hadn't been priced yet. None of them had prices on them. But you know when you're in a record store and you see that new collection come in and you're trying to dive in there. And I come across this record. Now I came across this record. I believe it was there was another Weldon Irvine record that was in there, but it was a reissue. And what was the third record? It's 2 Weldon Irvine records, and there was a third record. I almost want to say it was a Meters album. But I pulled them out of there real quick. And the kid that was working in there that evening, he was, you could tell just by looking at him, he's one of these rock guys and, you know, could care less about jazz or R&B or soul or any of them cats or whatever. So, and this is like, don't get me wrong, this is pretty beat up. You can see like the water damage here, and the spine looks crazy. But if you know anything about Weldon Irvine records, you know that they're all super duper rare and they're all super expensive. So you're not just going to go out and find these at, you know, cheap or moderately priced, you know. So I had maybe 5, 6 records in my hand. And I go, you know, let's see what happens. I take them up to the counter. The guy tallies them up. $1 a piece. $1 a piece. I got this Weldon Irvine record for $1 diggy dollar. Now, if that's not a steal of a deal, then I don't know what is. Last question, question number 20. Show a promo album. Sure. That would have to be Bill Doggett, Honky Tonk Popcorn. And if you look real close, it's got that promo sticker on there, right there. This one was a cool find too. So me and a couple of homies were spinning at this bar one night. And we're spinning all 45. It's like an all 45 night. Great night. A lot of fun. All of the homies was there. And the whole entire night, there was like this plastic container full of records that was by the foot of the stage. And I never saw anybody touch it, go near it. I was there pretty early. I never saw anybody bring it in or what. Was there all night. So finally at the end of the night, we're tearing down the equipment, this, that, and the other thing. And I ask around, I go, hey, that's one of my buddies, like, yo, what's up with this vinyl right here? And he goes, oh, that stuff is free. You can just take what you want. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. So he asked one of the bartenders or somebody who worked in there, and they said, this stuff right here. And the bartender looked at me and he goes, yeah, take it, whatever you want. So I started flipping through it, and it was all trash. It was all trash. And then all of a sudden I get towards the back and boom, I pull this out. And I go, okay, now we're talking. Now we're talking. If you know about this record, you know. If you don't, Bill Doggy was somebody that, you know, James Brown, he did some producing for him. In fact, this is on King Records, James Brown label. So, got a song on here that was sampled a lot over the years in rap music, and that was a cool find. So when I pull it out and I show all of my vinyl DJ homeboys what I pulled out, they're like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding!" Like they slept, they just slept on it, and I just swooped in there and got it for free 99. Yo, that's it. I'm sorry for being so long-winded. But some of these I had to tell you the whole story, the whole background behind what was going down. So, let's end it here. Big ups to Dylan over at Noble Records. And of course, Young LP Lovers, because I was actually scrolling through his videos and came across it, and I was like, oh, let me get right on that. This is Daryl D. Daryl D TV. Thanks for hanging out for 50-some minutes. I must be crazy. Yo, y'all take care. Peace and love.